What's up, everybody? This is Megan McGuire, Senior Student Loan Consultant with Student Loan Planner. And today we're going to be talking about the double consolidation loophole, what it is, how to do it. I've got 3 common examples to go through today that I think can help you execute this properly before the deadline, which is July 2025. That's when this double consolidation loophole is getting closed. So let's jump on in. Let's talk a little bit about what the double consolidation actually is. The double consolidation has to do with those who have Parent Plus loans. So Parent Plus loans are federal student loans that you can borrow for your child who's going to undergraduate school or an undergrad degree. And they're borrowed under the name of the parent. They remain the responsibility of the parent that borrowed that Parent Plus loan. They cannot be transferred into the student's name within the federal system. You can do that by refinancing into the student's name. That's privatizing the loan, but that is not what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how to get ourselves onto a more affordable income-driven plan through this double consolidation loophole. So let's start with maybe a visual. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is just an example for visual purposes, but what your Parent Plus loans might look like when you see them on your studentaid.gov data file. So there's kind of 2 different types of Parent Plus loans you might have. One is a direct plus parent loan, or direct Parent Plus is what I'll say. And then there's also FFEL Parent Plus loans, which FFEL loans, that stands for Family Federal Education Loans. They were borrowed they could have been borrowed before 2010. They don't really issue these anymore. All loans are direct loans. But it might be possible that you have one of these on here. So I thought an example of this might be helpful. So in a nutshell, Parent Plus loans, again, they're borrowed for the student to go to undergraduate schooling, and the repayment options associated with Parent Plus loans right now. So if we just kept these as is, they would only have access to amortized repayment options. So think about like when you have a mortgage, like that mortgage is amortized, meaning we have a payment, it's set to pay principal and interest each month, and we pay it off within a specific time frame. Now, if our balance is pretty overwhelming, compared to what our income is, that fixed payment or that amortized payment might be really challenging. So the servicer might suggest, hey, look at an income-driven plan. Income-driven plans base the payment off of a percentage of your income, your adjusted gross income from your tax return usually. Now, Parent Plus loans, they do not have access to income-driven plans initially. So if they're still in this form, they just have access to those amortized plans. If we consolidate these loans together just into one consolidation bundle, so a consolidation is just combining the loans within the federal system, then we have access to one income-driven plan called Income Contingent Repayment, or ICR. I'll kind of type this out down below. ICR. This plan is based on 20% of your discretionary income. Now you might be thinking, hey, what about the save plan or the pay plan or new IBR? What about those? Well, Parent Plus loans were not designed to have access to these lower income driven plans because, the save plan is 10% of discretionary income. Same thing with pay or new IBR. That's 10% of discretionary income. Old IBR is 15% of discretionary income. So all these other plans that exist in the federal system are cheaper than ICR, but Parent Plus loans were not designed to have access to these cheaper plans. They were designed to only have access to ICR if we consolidated all of our loans together. So in comes this double consolidation loophole. Now I say loophole because it is legitimately a loophole. This process or this access to these cheaper plans was not supposed to exist. So let me start there and say this is not something that you can call the loan servicer and ask them to help you do. If you say double consolidation loophole, they may not know what you're talking about. And if they do, they're not going to know how to do it or instruct you on how to do it. So what does this double consolidation mean? Now, the rules tell us, the student loan language says that if we have Parent Plus loans that are consolidated into a direct consolidation loan, then we only have access to income contingent repayment. But there's no rule about if we consolidate two consolidations together into a new consolidation loan. So what I mean by that is what we do in this case is we consider splitting our loans up. So let's say we take these two loans here, we consolidate them together. And let's say we take these two loans and consolidate these two together. Now, let me pause and say this is probably a pretty common example of what you might see if you have Parent Plus loans. This person probably had one kid that went to school for 4 years. They borrowed a Parent Plus loan for each academic year, and they have 4 Parent Plus loans. So this is going to be an example, a pretty common example of how to do the double consolidation if this is how many loans you have. This same process can be done the same, like exactly how we're going to talk about it here in a second. This can be done if we have as many as 8 Parent Plus loans. So this first example we're going to talk about, I'm going to name this, the paper example, the simple paper example. I'll explain why I say paper here in a second. And we could do this with as little as 2 loans, as little as 2 Parent Plus loans, and as many as 8 loans. Now, the second example that we'll get to, that's going to be if we have more than 8 Parent Plus loans. So maybe you had more children, maybe they went to school for longer, whatever the situation. The second example we're going to go through is if you have more than 8 loans. And then the third example we're going to go through to help you put yourself into a bucket here is if you have your own loans and you have Parent Plus loans. So stick around if the other 2 examples are better or match your situation better, I should say. You could skip. This might be helpful to still get some context by watching here, but definitely make sure to pay attention to the second and third example later on in this video. Okay, so let's talk about this paper example. So let's say we just split the loans then. We consolidate these 2 loans together. They become one direct consolidation loan, number 1. And let's split these 2 together. And they become their own direct consolidation loan. So we have 2 direct consolidation loans, right? Those 2 direct consolidation loans separately, they only have access to ICR, income contingent repayment, because we consolidated Parent Plus loans. Now, the key, kind of the sweet sauce here, is when we consolidate these 2 together, because you can consolidate 2 direct consolidation loans together. Now, when we consolidate these 2 together, we get a final direct consolidation loan. Let's put this in like a more aggressive, different color. So final direct consolidation loan, which is technically loan number 3. And what did we do? We consolidated 2 direct consolidation loans, not Parent Plus loans. So then it opens access to these plans down below: save, pay, new IBR, and old IBR. So we have a cheaper income-driven payment. So that is the purpose, that is the background of why this works. It's because that final consolidation did not consolidate Parent Plus loans at all. And it gets around that language in the code, the student loan code, that says that consolidations of Parent Plus loans can only have access to ICR. So pretty cool, right? Well, the Department of Ed figured out, hey, this is a hole in our system. And so they are deciding to close the availability of this loophole as of July 2025. So we still have time to get this done until July 2025. Now, these consolidations take time. They take maybe 30 to 60 days each consolidation process. These 2 consolidations can get done at the same time because we can send paper consolidation applications out at the same time. So that's why I'm kind of naming this a paper example. So that this process here, this batch here may take, 30 to 60 days to finish. Both consolidations settle. And then this last process will take its own 30 to 60 days. So probably the soonest this can get done is within, I'd say 3 months. That's like really soon though. But more realistically, it might take between 4 to 6 months to get this whole process done. The good news is while consolidations are being processed, your payment is paused. So you're in an administrative forbearance while they're working on bundling and consolidating the loans. So that's pretty good that you don't have to pay while you're waiting for all of this to settle. So let's talk a little bit further about the mechanics of this. How do we consolidate loans, 2 separate times, or really 3 separate times here? So we need to utilize different loan servicers. So your loans are probably with, they will be with one of the 4 different student loan servicers out there. Let me pull up a list of who these servicers might be. One servicer is called Nelnet. There's one called Aidvantage, Mohila, and Ed Financial. These are the 4 loan servicers that you may have right now. We need to utilize 3 of these servicers to complete this process. So going back to this example, let's pretend that the loans are already with Nelnet. So I'll just put this in the front. And what we can do is we can utilize the existing servicer that we have for at least one of our initial consolidations. So let's use Nelnet, the same company that we have right now for the first one. And when we send them an application to consolidate, we're telling them to only consolidate these 2 loans, leaving the other 2 out. Now, the next consolidation, this one that we're going to be sending out at the same time, we need to use a different student loan servicer. Why? Well, because if we send 2 separate applications to the same loan servicer, they're going to look at both and they're going to say, why not just combine them all together? And that's probably what they would do, which defeats the whole purpose of what this process is. So we need to send them to a completely different servicer to make sure that the process does end up being separate. So we're using Nelnet for one. Let's use, let's just say Mohila for the second one. So Mohila is one of the other servicers. Another note, Nelnet is the only, Nelnet and Aidvantage are the only servicers that actually process consolidations. Nelnet processes their own, Aidvantage processes their own, but Aidvantage also processes Mohila's and Ed Financials. So you'll see that in like their addresses for where you would mail these to. They are, technically for the loan servicer, but it's sending to Aidvantage to getting to be getting processed. So that's okay. We can still do this process. We're still sending them technically separate to separate servicers, even if Aidvantage is processing one of them. So not to worry there. So we're sending one packet, one paper consolidation application to Nelnet, one paper consolidation application to Mohila. We send, I recommend, if this is the case, if we have 8 loans or less, send paper applications initially. Why? Paper applications can be sent simultaneously. I can't say that word, but together. Good at numbers, not words, guys. So we can send these out at the same time. That way they're processed at the same time, and we're looking at like a 30 to 60-day timeline. There is an online consolidation application process. However, you can only do one online consolidation every 6 months. So that's pretty problematic if we needed to use an online or if there wasn't like a paper consolidation application option, because then we'd have to wait 6 months every time we did one of these consolidations, which would take a year and a half. So we use paper to be able to do this all in a shorter amount of time, cut the time really into a third when we look at it that way. So we send out these 2 paper consolidation applications. We'll take a look at that paper application here in a second. The final one can be done online. So this online consolidation, that could be the last step. It's pretty easy. There's not a lot of input into it because it pulls all the loan details from the student loan system. This online application is done through studentaid.gov, and it just combines the two loans that we have here. So that is the mechanics of how and why this works. This is an example of if you have 8 loans or less, how to split them up. Probably just split them up in half. Doesn't really matter how you split them up. We just need to have a bundle going to one company and a bundle going to a different company. Now you'll see some details over here. So some information that you're going to need for the paper applications is the loan account number, the loan code, and your balance. So like the current total balance over here. Those are going to be a lot, the main like details that you'll need about the loans themselves. So with that being said, let's pull up an example of the the paper consolidation application. So this is the paper consolidation application. We will have links to this in the article or in the show notes, in the video notes down below. But the paper consolidation application, this is the PDF. It does say that it's expired, but they have not updated this form as of the date of this video, which is December 7th, 2023. So this still, from what we know, is the most recent paper consolidation application that you can use. So on the first page, the very first page is all basic information. So pretty straightforward. You would put the borrower's information here, basic info, and then it's going to ask for reference info. You do need to include this reference info when you're completing this application. What they use this for is if you were to stop making payments and they couldn't contact you for some reason, like none of your phone number wasn't working, your email wasn't working, they would hypothetically reach out to one of these people to see if you had moved. So you have to list 2 people that do not live with you and that do not live with each other. So 2 separate references here. They will reject applications if this is not complete. So that's an important note. Now dropping down, this is kind of the meat and potatoes of this application. So this first section here is going to list the loans for you to list the loans that you want them to consolidate. And see, it shows it needs the loan code. It needs the loan holder information. So this is where the loans are right now. Where are they at right now? That's what they're asking. And then the loan account number and the estimated payoff amount. So this might be a little overwhelming because you might think, I don't know any of this information really, except for maybe the balance. Don't worry. Good news is you can find this information by pretending like you're going to complete the application online. So what you would do is go to studentaid.gov. You would sign into your studentaid.gov account, and you would go to loan repayment here, consolidate loans, or you could just search consolidate in this little search section, and it'll pull up the consolidation application. This is the one that's online. Now, if we're going to start with paper, we're not going to submit this, right? We're just going to use it, use the first couple pages to get information. So let's view the demo. You go ahead and start this application. It takes you through, has you verify your basic information. You just want to kind of click through. You don't have to really get too in the weeds with the details yet because we're not really submitting this. But what we need to look at is the loans and servicer information. So I think it's in section 2, and it's going to list each of your loans individually. And what's great about that is it's going to show you the loan account number, and it should show you the loan code, but I'll show you where to find it if not. But this will show you the balance, total balance for each loan, the loan account number. It's going to be pretty long. So how they kind of create this number is it's the social security number of the child that you borrowed for. You'll see pretty much the whole social security number from what I understand, or at least the last 4 digits. And then you'll see a pretty long number after that. The numbers will look very similar. So keep that in mind. Each account number will look very similar, but they're usually one number or one letter different from each other. So just pay attention to detail here. But this is where you grab the account numbers, the balances. It will also show the loan servicer information. So if you need the address, the phone number, servicer name, you get that all from this, pretending like we're completing the online application. So perfect. We've got that all checked off. Now, loan code, if for whatever reason it's not showing there, direct parent plus loans, the loan code is the letter U. So this is the, I'll make sure this is in the video notes as well. This is the instructions for completing the direct consolidation application, and it gives you the loan codes. So loan code letter U is direct plus loans for parents. Now, if it's not a direct loan, if it's one of those FFEL loans, then it's the letter T, federal plus loans for parents. So that's how you can identify the loan code. Any other loan type will be listed here as well. We'll come back to this page though. So that's going to help you fill out this information. But remember, we're only listing the loans that we want to consolidate on this section. So if we go back to our example, we're only listing the 2 loans here. In this example, we're only listing these 2 loans here. And then what we do, if we scroll back to the next page, so that's the loans we want to consolidate. You do not need to add anything here. This is if you want them to delay processing your application. We don't want them to delay. We just want them to get it done now. Usually, there's very limited reasons why you might want to delay, but the next section, so the 3rd page of this consolidation application is going to ask which loans you do not want to consolidate. So you are going to have to list every loan that you have here that you do not want to consolidate. So in this example that we're using, we would list the other 2 that we're leaving out. Now, you might notice there's only 4 slots here, right? So that kind of limits us on how many loans we can list. That's why I say, it's pretty easy to start this process on paper if you have 8 loans or less, because we could split them up in half. We have 4 loans that we're consolidating, 4 loans that we're not. So we're able to list them all pretty easily. So I'll get to what folks should do if they have more than 8 loans here next, but that's something to notice is there's only 4 slots here. All right, so we've done that. We've listed the loans that we want to consolidate, the loans we don't want to consolidate. This consolidation application would go to one of those companies. So let's say Nelnet. Now we have to do the direct opposite of what we did on this last consolidation application to Nelnet to the one that we're going to send to Mohila in that example. So we would basically just print this application twice. We're going to put all the same basic information, but on the loans that we want to consolidate for the application that's going to go to Mohila, we need to put the 2 loans that we want to go to Mohila and then list the 2 loans that we left out that are going to go to Nelnet. So when you're doing this double consolidation process, you will have 2 mailing packets, one going to that one company, one going to that other company, and you're going to have 2 separate consolidation applications, one going to the one company, one going to the other. So that is the mechanics of this consolidation application to start, the paper consolidation application. Now, we're not done yet. We have to add this consolidation application in, but they're also going to want to know, hey, what repayment plan do you want to go on? Now, I know we're not done, right? We're not done yet. This is not the last consolidation that we're doing. They don't know that though. They're going to want you to choose a repayment plan or else they can reject the application. So what I suggest is completing this repayment plan request form. This form will put you on one of those amortized repayment plans. So just one that spreads the payments out over a specific period of time. The reason I suggest doing this application instead of like an income contingent repayment application is because you don't have to provide income documentation. So it makes this first consolidation application a little easier with less documents that you're sending them and a little faster because it doesn't take them very long to process one of these. So what I would suggest is, put in your basic information here. This link will be in the article and in the video notes as well. Same thing. This has an expiration date at the top of 2020, but they have not updated this. So this so far has still been working. So put in your basic information and you'll go ahead and check this first box. Choose one of the following. I want to select a plan for all of my direct loans. And don't put too much thought into this. It doesn't really matter because you're not going to be making one of these payments, but I would just say choose the standard plan. And then scrolling down, borrower section in 3, you do not have to select this box. You don't have to put anything in here, but make sure your name and social security is at the top of this page, the second page here, and then you sign and date. So let's back up and kind of recap. So once I've identified the loans that we're splitting up, we get the loan details from pretending like we're doing the online consolidation application. We input those into the paper consolidation application. Just input all that data. And then we also print out this repayment plan request twice, print the same thing out twice. It'll be identical. Both will do the same thing. The consolidation applications will be a little different, right? Because we're sending loans to different companies for consolidation, but the repayment plan request will be the same. So print this out twice, and then this is what is included in your mailing packet. Now, where do we mail this? Perfect. Let's get to that. So we need to be sending, in this example, we were going to send one to Nelnet, our current servicer. This is the address as of today, December 7th, 2023, that Nelnet has on file for consolidation applications. So that's where you would send Nelnets. And then the other one we were going to send to Mohila, right? So this is the address that we have on file for Mohila as of today. That's where they will receive the consolidation applications. So we mail these out. I do recommend submitting these certified mail or sending these certified mail. It has a lot of sensitive information in it, like your social security number and all that. So I would suggest sending certified, one, to make sure it got there, but also because it just has a lot of sensitive info. So, okay, how are we feeling? That was a lot of information, right? That is the first example. If we've got 8 or less loans, we can start with paper applications, sending them out at the same time. You guys have the steps on how to go about that. Some correspondence that you're going to get after you submit these applications, you'll get one email at some point or letter at some point that says, hey, we got your loans. And then that's about it. Then the next one will say, hey, we're about to start processing your consolidation. Then you'll get another email or letter that says, hey, these are the loans we plan on consolidating. Check for accuracy. That's the one you want to check. You want to make sure that they're consolidating the loans that you told them to consolidate. If they have it wrong, if they're consolidating them all, or there's some kind of error, give them a call immediately. They give you 10 business days to respond, or else they proceed with the consolidation and they process it. And there's no changing it after it's been gone through and done the consolidation. So make sure to look out for that confirmation email. That's really important. I rarely see them make mistakes there, but it's worth a check because you want to make sure. So, all right, awesome. So that happens. You get that letter. Let's say all is good. You let that process. Then you get an email or a letter at some point that says, hey, the consolidations are done. Each company says, hey, the consolidation is done. Great. The next step is a lot easier because we don't have to do a paper application. We could do it online. So then we go to the studentaid.gov website. So the same place we went to check our loan details. We go there again, sign in. You're going to do consolidate loans. And this time you're actually going to complete the application. So you'll go through, complete the application, make sure your basic information is correct. So they'll have you just take a look at that. Put your employment information in if you're employed. It'll list the loans that you want to consolidate. So check here. What happens sometimes is it takes a little bit of time for the loan file to settle. So you might still see your Parent Plus loans here, even though you have a consolidation loan listed. You might see some double counting. Don't panic if this happens. That just means that there's still some time that it needs to settle. So what you would do at that point is just close out of the application, come back to it later once it's all settled. And eventually you'll see the two separate direct consolidation loans. This is just an example, but you would see the two direct consolidation loans listed here. Then you know that you're good to go. You're ready to go on to the next page. Then you continue. It's going to ask if you want a grace period again. Say, nope, we don't want to delay processing. We want them to just go ahead and do this. It's going to ask you to choose your loan servicer. So this is important because remember, we need to go to a servicer that's not who we've already used. So if our one consolidation loan is at Nelnet, another is at Mohila, we need to go to someone completely different. So let's say, one is with Mohila, one is with Nelnet. So let's say our last one goes to AidVantage in our example. So we would select AidVantage for who the loan servicer needs to be on this last step. And that's just because kind of a technicality with consolidations. Within the federal system, if you consolidate and you have another consolidation going through at the same company within 180 days, they'll assume that you wanted that to be part of that last consolidation or the first one that was within that 180 days. So again, we don't want that to happen, right? We need these to be separate processes. So we need to go to a separate company here. Now, some folks might be looking at this thinking, hey, I work in public service. I need to choose yes to this. So in theory, yes, if you're working in public service, you'd want to select this yes button. And then what they would do is they would send you to Mohila. That's a problem if we've already used one of the companies, one of the loan servicers to consolidate the first batch of loans. If we're already at Mohila, we can't go there right now, right? Because we need a separate company. So you could say no to this question. It does not sacrifice public service loan forgiveness for you in the future. Like you could still pursue it in the future, and we'd still select AidVantage, even though we might be gunning for PSLF. So we'd select AidVantage, this all processes, and then in the future, like after this whole process is done, you would submit a PSLF application and it would pull you back to Mohila. So that's nothing to worry about if you're not going to Mohila on this last round because of the sequence of how you consolidated. Don't worry, that's okay. As long as you're pursuing PSLF, you could still pull your loans back over to Mohila later. And as long as they were pulled over to Mohila by a PSLF application and not a consolidation process, you'll be fine. There's no issue there. All right, so we chose AidVantage in this example. We continue on. It's going to have you select your repayment plan. Now, this is where it's a little tricky. They recently updated this website, and the website is not very smart. It's going to look back in your loan file and see if you've ever had Parent Plus loans. And if you have, they're going to assume that you only have access to income contingent repayment for your repayment plan. So you might think, oh, easy. I can just select the income-driven plan, choose Save or New IBR, and be on my way. No, that's not the case, unfortunately. They're not going to give you one of those lower payment options as an option to select on this application at this time. So don't worry, don't panic. We know that this is the case. So what we do is we again select the fixed repayment plan and we just choose the standard plan. Again, it doesn't really matter because we're not ending on this final repayment plan. We just need to get this application processed. So we would choose the fixed repayment plan, continue on. It'll show you like different options. Again, it doesn't really matter which one you choose. We'll just select the standard plan to be consistent. It's going to ask you for references again, which it should have already loaded up the references that you put in on your paper application. So I don't think you'll have to re-enter those in, but you'd go ahead and enter those references in, select them, continue, and then it'll take you through the terms and conditions. Then it'll have a review page. then you electronically sign this application. So that is the online consolidation process after the 2 paper consolidations have been consolidated. And now we wait, another 30 to 60 days for this next consolidation process to work its way through. You'll get those same, email correspondence, responses where they say, hey, we're consolidating your loans. Hey, these are the loans we plan on consolidating. Hey, we're done with your consolidation. Once you get the notice that the consolidation is done, what your next step is going to be is completing a paper income-driven application. So this is the income-driven application. It's brand new. They just came out with it. It says it expires January 31st, 2024. So maybe just check this in the new year. See if there's a new one available. Probably not, but so this one, you put in your basic information and you want to enter an income-driven plan because you're brand new to an income-driven plan. You choose the plan that you want. So if you wanted to go on Save or IBR or Pay, whichever is cheaper, I would probably suggest not having them choose the repayment plan for you. I would choose Save specifically or IBR specifically, whichever is going to be cheapest for you. It's going to ask if you have multiple loan servicers. Technically we do, but after the consolidation, you're not going to, because then you'll have everything at Advantage in this example. So you're going to say no. Are you currently in deferment or forbearance? You could say no, because at some point you're probably coming out of the in-school and or the deferment or forbearance. Then you move on, answer some basic questions. How many kids do you have? How many other dependents do you have? What's your marital status? If you're single, pretty easy, keep skipping down. If you're married, you do have to acknowledge that. If your spouse has student loans, you have to acknowledge that and then continue on. It's going to want you to provide income documentation. So if your income has decreased this year compared to what your tax return shows, like the most recent tax return on file, you can use alternative documentation of income, such as a pay stub or a signed statement explaining your income. Or if last year's tax return is fine to use because that income was maybe lower than this year, then you can have you can attach a copy of the 1040 page of your tax return, which will show on line 11 your adjusted gross income. So that's how you just kind of work your way through these questions. It'll ask if you want them to have authorization to look at your IRS data in the future. And this is because on an income-driven plan, every 12 months you have to update your income. And so this allows them to update that income for you on your anniversary without you having to initiate it, because that used to be the case. You used to have to initiate them updating your income by providing documentation, but now they can do it automatically. So if you're okay with that, go ahead and approve. If not, you can decline the consent. Go forward, continue to sign, put your social, sign and date, and let's see, you would not need to check this box. You request a 1-month reduced forbearance. This is only for those who are switching from the IBR plan to a different plan, which is not relevant to Parent Plus borrowers. So then you would just sign. So this is a paper application. You can either mail this to the last loan servicer that you went to, so like Advantage in this example, or a lot of these companies have an online portal where you can upload documents. That's probably what I would suggest. That would be the preference and probably the fastest. Is once you set up your online account with the servicer that's managing your loans going forward, that final servicer, you can upload this signed income-driven request form to that portal. There's going to be a place for you to upload income-driven applications, income-driven supporting documentation, and that's where they'll review this and get you on the right repayment plan. So that is the process for the paper, starting out with 2 paper consolidation applications. Now Next example we're going to go into is if we have more than 8 loans. So let's say you have more than 8 Parent Plus loans for whatever reason, multiple kids, whatever it is. Now, if we have multiple Parent Plus loans on the online consolidation application, there are limited numbers of spaces that we have on the paper application. When we have to split the loans up, right? We can, if we have 12 loans, we can split them up into 6 and 6. 6 will easily fit in the section where it says, these are the loans I want to consolidate. But 6 loans are not going to fit when you have to list the other ones that you don't want to consolidate. There's an additional loan listing sheet that allows you to add the loans that did not fit on that original application. So there's a section for the loans that you want to consolidate. Make sure you pay attention to that. And a section for the loans that you don't want to consolidate. So in this longer example of loans, we just have more loans. We could still split these guys somewhat in half. So let's say we split these guys up. We split these guys up. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this person has 14 loans. So we could have 7 listed as loans that we want to consolidate, and then 7 loans listed on the ones that we don't want to consolidate, but we'd have to add those additional pages, or that one additional page, to list the loans that didn't make it on that first original application, if that makes sense. So that's not a problem. You can do that. You just want to really make sure you're detail oriented and you've listed them in the correct spot. And when you do the reverse, like you do the second application to go to the other company, that you're very detail oriented. You make sure that you list the loans that you want to consolidate and the loans that you don't want to consolidate, and any overflow comes to this page. So you can absolutely do this whole process, like all those instructions that I mentioned in the last example. You could do this whole process on paper. It just means that you have this additional loan listing sheet that you have to add. Now, this is one option you have for this example. Another option you have, if you're kind of nervous about the additional loan listing sheet, which sometimes I get a little nervous about it because I don't have a lot of faith in the organization of the Department of Ed, unfortunately, or these servicers more so. And so sometimes what I'll suggest is I'll say, okay, well, let's actually reverse the steps. Let's first start with an online application and let's consolidate the majority of the loans. And in this way, we start out with bundling, most of the loans. Maybe we leave 2 of them out. We can leave as little as 1 out, because 1 Parent Plus loan can be consolidated by itself. I know that sounds a little confusing, but it can be. But consolidate the majority online. It'll, pull all that data for you where you don't have to go and gather all this information. Send it to, maybe the current servicer. So if you're currently at Nelnet, go ahead and just consolidate the majority of the loans at Nelnet. But what we'd have to do is wait until this consolidation is done before we can proceed with the following 2 paper applications. Why? Well, because we're not going to know what the new consolidation loan account number is until it's all consolidated. So we have to wait like that 30 or 60 days until we have that new loan account number to add in to this paper application where we're consolidating these 2 and leaving that consolidation loan that you just did out, because you'll need the loan number for that new consolidation loan. So that's an option. The only downside to this option is that it takes a little bit longer. So it's kind of reversing the order of like doing online first and then paper the next 2 consolidations. So you can't do applications simultaneously in this example. You have to do them like step by step. So it'll take like 30 to 60 days each step. So maybe instead of like 4 to 6 months, maybe this way takes you, I'd say like 5 to 7 months. I still don't think it would take you that much longer. But if you were a little worried about the additional loan listing sheet, or you had a lot of Parent Plus loans where it would mean you'd have to add a lot of additional loan listing sheets, then I would probably suggest starting online. That's certainly a good option that you have. And then the rest of the steps would be the same. The last consolidation, you would still apply for a standard repayment plan. And then after the whole consolidation process is done, you submit the paper income-driven application to officially apply for the lower plan. So that's example 2. If we have more than 8 loans. Now, the last example I want to show you, so this will be example 3, is if we have loans that are your own loans and we have loans that are Parent Plus loans. So I'm going to call this example a commingled example where we've got loans from 2 different people. So in this example, you can see that we've got some Parent Plus loans, but we also have some direct Stafford unsubsidized loans. This means that they are the parents' loans that they borrowed themselves. So in this example, it almost looks like they went back to school around the same time, which is pretty cool. But you might have your own loans from like 2008, 99, 2001, whenever it was. Maybe you still have some of your own loans left. That's okay. But how does this affect the double consolidation process? In a way, it kind of makes it a little bit easier in the sense that we can simply consolidate the Parent Plus loans together. Let's just say we consolidate them all together. They become their own direct consolidation loan. These guys are not Parent Plus loans, right? So we'll have a direct consolidation loan, and then we can consolidate that with the remaining direct loans that we had for the parent, because these guys are not tainted with the Parent Plus loan code. So in a way, that makes us a little easier because we would just do I would say probably do a paper. So either or, if we have a lot of Parent Plus loans, maybe do the first application online, consolidate all the Parent Plus loans together. If we don't have that many, if it's like in this example, 4, and then another 4 with the parent, maybe you do this on paper. You consolidate the, the 4 Parent Plus loans together, leaving out these loans, right? These loans are going to have a different loan code, but you can find that in the studentaid.gov website. It'll tell you the loan code. And if not, there's that consolidation instruction listed. So these are a different loan code. They'll have their own loan account number. This example shows them all being the same just because I was showing a fake number. But so then the Parent Plus loans are consolidated, and then we do an online consolidation to pull them all together. So that's an example of like if you have your own loans and Parent Plus loans, how you could still do the double consolidation to get access to those cheaper plans. What's kind of interesting, like these guys already have access to those cheaper income-driven plans. The Parent Plus loans don't though, and they won't. And a lot of times the biggest mistake I see is a parent that has commingled loans. They just consolidate all the loans together. And why that's a big mistake is then the whole consolidation is tainted with the fact that they consolidated Parent Plus loans. So then not only the Parent Plus loans, but also your own loans only have access to ICR going forward. So that's a big problem. So we still need to consolidate in this very specific way to preserve the ability to have access to those cheaper income-driven plans, especially if we have our own loans in the picture. All right, how are we feeling? I know that was a lot. Are we feeling good though? Good. All right, let's talk about some troubleshooting issues, some common things that I see happen, I guess, throughout the process. So again, you have to remember this is a loophole. This is not a common process. This is not something that the servicer can walk you through. We've learned all of this through tons of trial and error, and the student loan system has constantly been changing. So we've been having to keep up trying to figure out, has their process changed here? Is there anything different we need to consider? So some things to think about when you're starting this process. One is organization is key. Keep copies of what you sent. Keep copies of everything. Keep like a receipt trail, if you will. That way you can stay organized. You know which loans you consolidated. You know which loans you didn't. I think that's number one, is stay really organized. Number two, don't panic if there's a problem that you run into or a road bump that you run into. This is still a loophole. It is a process that's not usual. Again, I can't stress that enough. And so give yourself a little grace on, making a mistake. If there is a mistake made, as long as you catch it in time, it can be fixed. This is also, I think, why hiring help could be really advantageous, because this video, I hope, gives you a really great layout of how to do this on your own. But if it's really challenging, or there's just a lot at stake that you want to make sure it's done correctly, and or you just really need to know, like, hey, what does save even mean for me? Like, what is that payment even going to be? And should I even be doing this process? Then a consultation could be super helpful. And that's what we do here at Student Loan Planner. Consultations with folks is our bread and butter. We can really help you navigate your situation and build a custom plan for you. So kind of listing out just some thoughts, some like last minute thoughts. So third thing on my mind. So let's say you apply for the last consolidation process, right? You have 2 direct consolidation loans, and you get, you consolidate those. The loan servicer reaches out and rejects the consolidation, and they say, hey, you can't consolidate these loans. You can't consolidate them together. That is an error. A lot of times what happens is the loan servicer looks at your file too fast when they're like processing that consolidation, and they think they see one consolidation, and then they're like, you can't consolidate one consolidation loan. But that's not true. You've got 2 direct consolidation loans. They may not have seen it though. So you just have to give them a call and say, hey, I've got 2 direct consolidation loans. They are eligible for consolidation. They're both direct consolidation, unsubsidized loans. So you just have to kind of spell it out for them. Like, hey, just relook at my application. I need this to be processed. I need you to consolidate those 2 loans together. If you still get pushback, you can hang up and call someone else. That sounds kind of silly, but just get another representative on the phone. Sometimes there are representatives that are more in the know and more helpful than others. That's just the reality. So you might just have to talk to somebody else. That should solve it. Now, if you have submitted the income-driven application, and let's say that's gotten denied, that they come back and they say, hey, you're not eligible for SAVE. You only have access to ICR. Similar story. Don't panic. You may just have to call the loan servicer and say, hey, I got denied for this income-driven plan, but I'm eligible for this plan. I'm eligible for SAVE, or I'm eligible for new IBR. My last consolidation did not consolidate Parent Plus loans. They consolidated 2 direct consolidation loans. And sometimes, believe it or not, it might actually help for you to mention that you did the double consolidation process. The loan servicers are starting to understand that people know how to do this process, and they're doing it actively. And sometimes they again just read the application before processing too fast. And they might have just looked at your file to see if you ever had Parent Plus loans. And the fact is you did. But what's important is the sequence of consolidations. When did your Parent Plus loans get consolidated? And when was the last consolidation? Like, what did that last consolidation combine? So you just have to kind of spell it out for them, give them a call. Usually that fixes it. Kind of similar to what I just said about the consolidations getting denied. If your income-driven application gets denied and then the loan servicer, the representative isn't super helpful, you could just hang up and call back and try to get somebody else on the phone. And then you can escalate it to a supervisor if you need to. Everyone who's gone through this situation has been able to get through. So advocate for yourself, keep pushing through, be polite though, and kind. I always think it's important to be polite and kind. The servicers, that representative is not who's, got it out for you. So, but I hope those little tips will help troubleshoot any problems, and then, give you some advice on where to seek some help. So the article that this video is linked to should spell out kind of in a written form how to go about this process, but I hope this video was super helpful for a do-it-yourself approach to your own double consolidation. This process has to be done, like the applications have to be submitted by July 2025. So reasonably, when is the last, time period or the last loan, like if you're still borrowing right now, when's the last time you could start this process? What's the kind of the cutoff point? And I would say realistically, the cutoff point is December 2024, meaning if you start the process in December 2024, I'm pretty confident that you'll be done by July of 2025. But if you start at any time after that, there is a risk that you're not going to get it done before the end of July 2024, or sorry, July 2025. Is it possible? Yeah. But we're also working with servicers that, we're at the whims of their processing times. We can do everything right on our end, but it might take them a while to do the processing, which is out of our control. So I would say set expectations for yourself that if you start this process, you can start it as late as December 2024. And I could feel pretty confident in you being able to complete this process by the July 2025 deadline. Anytime after that, there's a possibility that you could still get it done, but might not be likely. So I hope this was helpful. This was a lot of information. Thanks for hanging around. Check out the article for additional written context on this. Schedule a consultation with us if you need some additional help going through this process. It is a doozy of a process. I am recognizing that. But it could be a huge deal if it's able to get your payments lowered, get you on a more favorable forgiveness track, help saving you money. So, I mean, it's a great process. It's not a great process. It's a great result, I should say. The process is tough, but you've got the support to go through it now. And if you need the additional support or wanted to just make sure that you were doing everything correctly, reach out to us and we'd be happy to do a consultation with you. But thanks for hanging out with me.